He's still not gone. And sadly, I think the arrogance and ego of those that appointed him is going to prevent the correct decision being made. If they aren't prepared to make the correct decision, it would suggest that Chelsea are well and truly lumbered with Graham Potter. So what I thought we could do on this video is break down the 5 key reasons why it's essential that Chelsea give Graham Potter the tic-tac. He needs to go. There is no way that we should preserve our relationship with him. And there are 5 key reasons why I think this is definitely the correct decision. The first reason, this is the jewel in the crown of all of the reasons to let him go, is because this season can still be saved. This season with Graham Potter feels like a total write-off. It's painful. The disparity between fans and players and managers and the board. The season is a tumultuous one, a painful one, but it can still be saved if the board act decisively now. We can still win the European Cup. There is a chance that Chelsea could still go to Istanbul and lift the European Cup aloft. I know it feels like a long stretch at the moment, but I truly do believe that it can happen. The season is alive if we just act in a brave and correct and decisive way. Remember, the European Cup this year is unlike it's been over previous years. There isn't really an obvious frontrunner. You know, fairly recently, it's always felt like it's going to go to Real Madrid, or it's going to go to Man City, or it's going to go to PSG, or it's going to go to Bayern. It hasn't really felt like, even the year that Chelsea won it, it felt like that was an upset. Whereas this year, it feels wide open. You know, there is a vulnerability to Liverpool that we haven't seen in previous years. There is a vulnerability to Man City. Paris Saint-Germain are having all sorts of problems. Bayern don't feel like the same imposing threat. Real Madrid, again, the same can be said. So I feel like it is open this year. And if we do something incredible and appoint the right man, you never know. It could actually be beneficial to such a degree that we win the European Cup. Remember, it was less likely in 2012 that Chelsea were to secure European glory. When we sacked Andre Villas-Boas and brought in Di Matteo off the back of what happened away in Napoli, nobody gave us a chance. We were out of that tie. But a new manager came in and the entire tide rose at the club. And I think that we could see something similar like that happen again at Chelsea. Just look at the impact new managers have the ability to make in the Premier League. Look, for example, what Sean Dyche has done at Everton. He's gone in there and changed the entire complexion of that club. Under Lampard, it looked like they were going down. Nobody really now thinks that they're going to go. They are accruing points. Their home form is 100%, and I think that now they will survive. Chelsea were beaten by Southampton. Just think about the impact that was had on Southampton by sacking Nathan Jones. Week after week of embarrassment under Nathan Jones. Suddenly, they sack their manager and they look aside. They were very good against Chelsea and they have won at Stamford Bridge. So I truly believe that sacking Graham Potter could have significant impacts to our trophy haul. The second reason, this is number 2. He's lost the fans. Once the fans have gone, once you have lost the backing of the fans, it feels untenable. Once the fans are done, you are done. And once the sacking becomes inevitable, you may as well just do it. Because you could do it today, or you could do it in 2 weeks, you could do it in 6 weeks, or you could do it in the summer, or you could do it in 18 months. But ultimately, this relationship ends, and it ends badly. So prolonging it for absolutely no reasons, no one's enjoying it, doesn't really benefit anyone. So the fans are totally on board. You know, this won't be like when Jose Mourinho was sacked either time. It won't be like when Carlo Ancelotti was disgracefully sacked in the tunnel at Goodison Park. It won't even be like when Thomas Tuchel was sacked. This one has unanimous fan backing. There is no reason to preserve our relationship with him. I think that Graham Potter is now clearly the most disliked Chelsea manager that I can remember, aside from Rafael Benitez. You know, Rafael Benitez was persona non grata at Chelsea. Apart from him, and we've had some dodgy managers in that period. You know, Andre Villas-Boas, Scolari, Avram Grant. Nobody has been as unpopular as Graham Potter. So just get it done, because once the fans are gone, I'm afraid it is over. So there's nobody, not Potter, not Chelsea, not the fans, not those that appointed Potter, benefit from prolonging the agony. Number 3, this is also a very important one. It is, if you remove all tribalism, all biases, it is the correct thing to do. There is no reason to not sack Graham Potter. In terms of it being a meritocracy, if you were to ask Graham Potter, I imagine that he would admit that he should be sacked. It's incorrect for him to keep his job. Do you know I saw a ridiculous comparison? There was a comparison drawn between Pep Guardiola's first season at Man City and Chelsea under Potter. I mean, I'm speechless at that comparison. Of course, Manchester City didn't win anything that year, but it was clearly far better than what's going on at Chelsea here. This is shambolic. It's embarrassing, and I can't see where our next win comes from. Like, under Potter, I just don't see a world where we can overturn the 1-0 defeat that happens with Dortmund. There is just no world in which that happens. Make a decision now, and I think that we can knock Dortmund out. I really do. Also, there's no room for sentimentality, is there? Why are we being sentimental? It was a nice idea, appointing Graham Potter. It was one that I supported, by the way. But there is nothing wrong with admitting that it's wrong. Admitting that you tried something a little bit different. You tried to appoint a manager that was more philosophical, was more forward-thinking, but it doesn't suit Chelsea. So hold your hands up, admit that you got it wrong, and move on. Like, Chelsea Football Club have just lost to a team who have one clean sheet in their last 28 games. They have lost 9 out of their last 10 Premier League games. That's just the tip of the iceberg as well. How can it be correct for him to keep his job? We are so bad. We've spent close to £500 million and we are languishing in 10th place. We've won one, isn't it? We've won one game in our last 5. It's just shambolic. And bearing in mind as well, by the way, we can't score and we can't defend. We have scored 4 goals in 9 games in 2023. How is that not sackable? Like, this is so obviously the correct decision. If you just remove all biases, it's not an opinion, is it? This is a proven fact that he needs to lose his job. Another reason, number 4, is Graham Potter's decision-making. I mean, he's constantly making terrible decisions. The decisions are so bad that it actually makes me draw the conclusion that he's not really a very good manager. Like, you think about his Brighton team, and of course there were some moments where you thought he did a good job, but they also went a long stretch without winning. They also didn't score anything like enough goals, and that is being replicated at Chelsea. It makes you wonder how much that was a Brighton problem and how much it was a Chelsea problem, a Potter problem. Like, I feel like it's a Potter problem because it's followed Potter. He's left Brighton, and Brighton have suddenly started scoring 1 billion goals. Brighton score goals for fun under De Zerbi. Potter has come to Chelsea. Chelsea suddenly don't know where the back of the net is. It is a Potter problem. It's worrying quite how profligate we are and wasteful we are in front of goal. And also, just think about some of the decisions that he's making. Reece James, Thiago Silva, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Hakim Ziyech, and Aubameyang. Aubameyang's an interesting one. We'll talk about him on his own. But the 4 players that I just mentioned there, all watching from the stands, not from the bench, when we clearly needed them. There has been quite an aggressive PR campaign to calm this. Apparently if any of those players played, they would have had long-term injuries. That isn't the case. I'm sure that isn't the case because it was not suggested that they were injured initially. Suddenly, there's been a bit of a backlash to why those players weren't available because they were rested. For what, I don't know, but they were rested. And suddenly, there's word from the medical team that they were actually on the precipice of an injury disaster. But it feels like spin to me. It really does. The other one to discuss is Aubameyang. Like, the decision to leave Aubameyang out of the Champions League squad for the knockout stages and also not selecting him for Premier League games, despite telling us that he's playing so well in training, just makes no sense to me. Ego needs to be put aside. Your responsibility as a manager is to get the best out of your best players. And Aubameyang is, sadly, one of the best finishers at the club, probably the best finisher at the club. We're not in the market. We're not in the position for us to allow our principal to be our guiding star here. We have to get some points. And if Aubameyang is playing well in training, he is the most likely person to secure us 3 points. So get him on the pitch. No doubt in my mind he would have scored against Southampton. No doubt in my mind he would have scored in Dortmund. It's another bad decision by Graham Potter. And this is the most damning point of the lot. Chelsea have no passion. We are a tepid bunch. We are easily beatable. There is no spine, there is no core, there is no heart, there is no desire. And that starts with the manager. Like, he is such a tepid, unenthusiastic and inert man. So tranquil, so calm. When you have to start telling people how angry you get, you probably don't get angry enough. It makes me think as well, I started getting quite nostalgic. Do you remember Antonio Conte launching himself headfirst into the family end in the East Stand when Diego Costa scored against West Ham on that first night of the season, that Monday night? Do you remember Jose Mourinho when we were away? I remember being away at the Emirates. We didn't go our way, but he's on the pitch giving us the thing. That was Mourinho, passion-driven Chelsea fan, tactically astute, and the best manager that we've ever had at the club. That was Antonio Conte, tactically astute and one of the best managers that we've ever had at the club. Graham Potter just does not fit into that Chelsea mould. He isn't a Chelsea man. He really doesn't feel in keeping with our traditions. And the footage that was put out, did everybody see the footage that was put out on Chelsea's official pages of the players in the tunnel? Cesar Azpilicueta does a sort of half, come on lads, let's get going. Come on, give it to them. And the rest of the team trot out. There is nothing there. There is no passion, there is no desire, there's no hunger. They trot out onto the pitch at Stamford Bridge as if they are going for a walk over Hampstead Heath on a Sunday afternoon. They're popping over to Bull and Bush for a Sunday roast and a pint of Guinness. That is what it looks like. Popping out. It's a nice Sunday stroll. Take the dogs to the ponds. It was pathetic. You were going to war on that Stamford Bridge pitch. And this doesn't matter who you think of. Depending on your age, you might think of Ron Harris here. You might think of Peter Osgood here. Or you might think of the fighters that we've had in the team over the years. Terry, Essien, Makaleli, N'Golo Kante, Frank Lampard, Michael Ballack, John Obi Mikel. It was pathetic, timid, and so far away from everything that I expect from a Chelsea team. To trot out on the pitch like that, it was so clear that it is so over. So that concludes my 5 reasons that Chelsea need to sack Graham Potter today. Time waits for no man, old toddy boy. Get your act together and get him out the door while we still have time, because as I said at point number 1, this season, there is still something to be salvaged from it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope that you have enjoyed it. If you have, please give this video a like. Please click subscribe. I would love to welcome you into this community. Oh dear, I am so broken by this, man. Just get him out. In a bit.